By 2016, 200,000 house mice had transformed a pristine wildlife sanctuary into an ecological battlefield.
The latest challenge pushing farmers to breaking point. Millions of mice running riot and destroying valuable stock feed.
These tiny invaders, no bigger than your thumb, were hunting in coordinated packs, devouring seabirds, 300 times their size, and driving species to extinction that existed nowhere else on the planet. New Zealand's government faced an impossible decision: act now or watch an entire ecosystem vanish forever. With no other options left, they authorized the most extreme measure, dropping 65 tons of poison across 5,000 acres of storm-battered terrain in the dead of Antarctic winter.
There are concerns that native fish species could be killed with secondary poisoning, the New South Wales mouse plague.
Project leader Stephen Horn knew the stakes. Miss even one pregnant female, and within months, we're back to square one.
Just, horrible. About 2 million mice, in my estimate, is what I've seen in my place.
2 million mice.
Yeah.
TechMotion takes you inside this all-or-nothing mission, where 13 people battled impossible odds to save a dying island. But did they succeed in killing every last mouse? And what terrifying discovery did they make that nobody saw coming? But here's what most people never grasp about invasive species. They arrived under cover of darkness, scaling impossible cliffs with a determination that would terrify anyone who truly understood their impact. These weren't ordinary mice. They hunted in coordinated packs, attacking seabirds 300 times their weight, literally eating helpless chicks alive while still in their nests. When conservation scientists first documented what was unfolding on the Antipodes Islands, they couldn't believe their eyes. This renowned sanctuary for Earth's rarest wildlife had transformed into a silent battlefield, and the invaders measured barely 3 inches long. The story begins in 1893, when fate delivered these uninvited guests to the island's storm-lashed shores. Most likely stowaways from the French bark President Felix IV, which shattered against the cliffs in 1908, or perhaps from earlier sealing vessels. Nobody knows for certain. What we do know is that these tiny survivors had stumbled upon paradise. No predators, unlimited food, and 5,000 acres of virgin territory. Yet even experienced conservationists couldn't predict what would happen next. The numbers tell a story that would make any land manager's blood run cold. Within decades, those original stowaways had multiplied into 200,000 individuals. That's 40 mice per acre, each one consuming resources meant for native species. Listen to what Australian farmer Brad Henderson discovered during a similar plague. About 2 million mice, in my estimate, is what I've seen on my place. When you're dealing with numbers like that, it's not just about losing crops. It's watching an entire ecosystem collapse before your eyes. But the real nightmare was just beginning to reveal itself. These weren't mice behaving like mice anymore. Evolution had transformed them into something far more dangerous. Scientists documented behaviors that defied everything we thought we knew. Organized hunting parties targeting live birds, systematic raids on cliff-face nests, and the complete annihilation of insect populations that had existed since before humans walked the earth. The Antipodean parakeet, the island pipit, the endemic snipe, species that had survived unchanged for millions of years, were disappearing within single breeding seasons. 21 species of seabirds, including the critically endangered wandering albatross, faced the same fate that had befallen Gough Island, where similar mouse armies had been filmed in coordinated killing sprees. This is where decades of conservation experience would be put to the ultimate test. By 2014, New Zealand's Department of Conservation faced a decision that would determine the fate of an entire ecosystem. Project leader Stephen Horn understood the stakes better than anyone. We're not just trying to reduce numbers here. We need to eliminate every single mouse, or we've accomplished nothing. One pregnant female survives, and within a year, we're back to square one. The mission they designed, dubbed $1 Million Mouse, would cost $680,000 and demand precision that pushed the boundaries of what conservation science considered possible. But here's what the public rarely understands about operations like this. It's not just about dropping poison and hoping for the best. For 2 grueling years, teams prepared with military precision. Every piece of equipment, every shelter, every fuel depot had to be helicoptered onto an island with no harbors, no safe landing zones, and weather windows that lasted mere hours. Conservation specialist Mark Anderson, who'd spent 20 years on similar projects, called it the most technically demanding operation I've ever witnessed. The method they chose would spark controversy, but the alternative was watching an ecosystem die. June 2016 brought the harsh Antarctic winter, and with it, the perfect hunting conditions. Here's something most people don't realize about eradication operations. Timing is everything. Winter meant hungry mice, more likely to take bait. It meant fewer nesting birds at risk of accidental poisoning. 2 helicopters lifted off into conditions that would ground most aircraft, each pilot navigating predetermined grid patterns, while fighting 100 km/h winds, maintaining exact altitude to ensure the 65 tons of specially formulated poison pellets landed precisely where needed. Too high and the bait would scatter uselessly. Too low and they'd risk crashing into the island's treacherous terrain. But what happened next tested human endurance beyond anything they'd prepared for. Ground team leader David Mitchell later reflected on those 75 days. You're living in basic huts with no heating, working in sub-zero temperatures, knowing that one mistake could doom species that exist nowhere else on Earth. This level of dedication is what separates true conservation work from good intentions. Massive storms rolled in without warning, grounding helicopters for days. The team watched their carefully planned schedule crumble as nature fought back against human intervention. Every delay increased the risk that mice would learn to avoid the bait, creating safe zones where survivors could breed. If you found this video interesting, drop a 1 in the comments or a 0 if you thought it was boring. Now came the phase that would test their nerves more than any physical challenge. In the days following that final poison drop, an unnatural silence descended over the Antipodes. The 13-person ground team began the most crucial work, proving that 200,000 mice were truly gone. It was really a creative process in a way. Spent a lot of time working long hours, one team member recorded in their journal. But beneath those simple words lay an almost unbearable pressure. Every rock overturned, every crevice examined across 5,000 acres of brutal terrain. They were searching for evidence of complete annihilation. The poison didn't kill instantly. Brodifacoum could take up to 2 weeks to eliminate the entire population. During this agonizing wait, thousands of mouse carcasses appeared everywhere. Under rocks and tussock grass, even clinging to cliff faces where they'd died attempting to escape. The sheer volume was staggering, revealing the true scale of infestation that had been slowly strangling the island. Yet finding dead mice wasn't enough. They needed to prove not a single one survived. "18 months. That's how long they waited before returning to check their work. Conservation scientist Finley Cox explains why. Give any survivors enough time, and they'll reveal themselves through breeding. If we'd failed, by late 2017, there would be clear signs, tracks, droppings, damaged vegetation. March 2018 brought the ultimate test. 3 specially trained rodent detection dogs and their handlers systematically searched every habitat type from coastal areas to the highest peaks. These dogs could detect a single mouse from hundreds of meters away. If any had survived, they would find them. Day after day, the dogs found nothing. Not a single dropping. Not one footprint on the tracking cards. The monitoring stations remained untouched. But what they did find made their hearts race with excitement that few people ever experienced. Was this video worth your time? Comment yes if it added value, no if it didn't. Here's where the story takes a turn that challenges everything we think we know about intervention in nature. Some argue we should let nature take its course, that human interference, even to correct human mistakes, goes too far. But what the team discovered next would silence even the strongest critics. The ecosystem wasn't just recovering, it was exploding back to life at rates that shattered scientific predictions.
The mouse hunt on one of New Zealand's most remote islands is finally complete.
Within 4 years, insect populations had increased by over 300%. The Antipode and parakeet population grew by 400, reclaiming territories lost for over a century. The island pipit doubled its numbers in just 2 years. The transformation revealed something even more profound about nature's resilience. Plants that had been suppressed for decades suddenly grew taller and more vigorously. Rare species confined to mouse-free cliff faces began spreading into areas unseen for generations. The recovery created a cascading effect. More plants supported more insects, which supported more birds, which dispersed more seeds, which created more plants. The ecosystem was literally rebuilding itself. What scientists uncovered next would fundamentally change our understanding of invasive species. Advanced DNA analysis of soil samples delivered a shocking revelation. The mice hadn't just driven 3 insect species to extinction, they'd eliminated potentially dozens more, leaving only genetic fragments as evidence of their existence. The true scale of biodiversity loss had been far worse than anyone imagined. But here's what should terrify anyone who cares about conservation. Genetic analysis showed the mice had been evolving. Island mice had developed larger teeth, stronger jaw muscles, and increasingly aggressive hunting behaviors. They weren't just adapting, they were becoming super predators, specifically designed to destroy this ecosystem. Computer models revealed the most sobering truth of all. The Antipodes had been perhaps a decade away from complete ecological collapse, a point of no return where recovery would have been impossible. The timing of this intervention hadn't just been important, it had been crucial for the island's survival. What we've witnessed on the Antipodes Islands reminds us that behind every conservation success are individuals who risk everything to correct humanity's mistakes. These dedicated professionals, from pilots navigating deadly storms to scientists spending months in isolation, embody the commitment required to preserve our planet's irreplaceable treasures. The next time you hear about endangered species or ecosystem collapse, remember the lesson of the Antipodes. Even the smallest invader can trigger catastrophic destruction. But with enough determination, skill, and precise action, we can still bring dying worlds back from the edge. The 200,000 mice are gone. The island lives again. And that triumph belongs to people who refuse to let an ecosystem disappear on their watch. But if you think 200,000 mice were destructive, wait until you see what millions of wild boars are doing to American farmland, and the ingenious trapping methods farmers developed to fight back. Click the video on your screen or check the description below. We're waiting for you in the next story.